Hello and welcome to the next edition of The Portal, a doorway that takes you into the latest happenings around the world of technology, leadership, and business. Well, the exciting topic for today is the future of product management, skills, leadership, and innovation in this ever changing world. And for this discussion, we are fortunate to have Deep Kumar Verma. Welcome, Deep.
Thank you.
Deep is a director product management with PayPal, where he's building very exciting. When I read this, a next-gen developer productivity platform, which is the need of the hour, right? Very, very niche, and he's doing that for thousands of developers at PayPal. He comes with a very rich, over more than 1.5 decades of experience, primarily in product management, with expertise spanning across B2B and B2C. A little bit more about his background. Well, he's been a principal group product manager with Microsoft, heading a team of PMs, looking after their mobile platform for Microsoft Teams, which is what all of us use on a day-to-day basis. Also at Amazon, he has, he looked after the address experience, very interesting, the creation, selection for customers worldwide, again, something which each one of us, do on a day-to-day basis. When, customers buy products on Amazon or they need to use address in any of the Amazon products or the programs, he's been very instrumental with that.
Thanks.
And from his pedigree, I'm so fortunate that he also hails from the college which is my alma mater too, which is IIT Roorkee, and he's done his management from the prestigious IIM Ahmedabad. Well, apart from that, he is very passionate about solving customer problems, and you will see that coming very strongly in our discussion with all the insights that he shares, and he believes in delivering value and holding a high bar on customer empathy. So welcome, Deep.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
To this.
It's a wonderful day, wonderful setup. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So moving on to our discussion, moving on to the very first question, Deep. How today we talk about data-driven decision making, right? That is no longer a good to have. It is basic hygiene. Now, I'm sure in the product management space, that becomes more relevant today than before. So how much of do you think data analysis, data-driven decision skills are required in a product manager today, and how are we finding this are we finding these skills in the market? What is the relevance? Some thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. I think thank you. Thanks a lot for it. You are very kind with the introduction here. Happy to share the knowledge that I have. Now, when it comes down to data-driven decision making, right? It is something which is ingrained in any decision, which is not just limited to product management, but across different fields. Whether it is marketing, you figure out, you tend to use data to figure out how your marketing campaigns should run. Even in sales, you figure out which all target segments you would want to target as you move ahead, right? And product management being one of those pioneer areas where data-driven decision making has been there, the evolution has been enormous. Like I can speak on behalf of, based on my experience of product management across industries. 10 years back, like when we said data-driven decision making, if we had to decide on whether to roll out a feature or how big is a customer problem, right? We'd go ahead and interact with customers, take their inputs, possibly surveys or interviews, right? And gather that first-hand data to analyze and then say, oh yeah, 20%, 30% of customers are echoing with the problem, big enough, we do the ROI calculation or whatever is required, and then drive your decisions. All of this is ad hoc. This is like 10 years back. In today's world, you expect that information to be available on your laptops, on your devices right away for you to drive decisions. What it effectively means is, in product management, you rely on data coming to you with all those needful aspects being considered for you to go ahead and drive decisions. Let me take an example on this, right? When I was with Amazon, and you elaborated a bit more, right? So I looked into the address experience for customers.
Got
What
it.
it effectively means, just double click a bit on it. When customers were buying on Amazon, they will go ahead and select the products that they may want to buy, add it to the cart, and then they start something called a checkout flow, which is like your cart is there, you say, okay, I want to go ahead and proceed to buy. So you select, the first thing which comes in is, okay, which address you would want to select. Then comes the payment methods, confirmation, blah, blah. Now, in that whole space, Amazon has like millions and millions of orders being placed, like hundreds of millions of orders being placed on a daily basis, right? And in quite sizable chunk of it, like addresses are being created.
Right, right.
For us to figure out how can we make that experience more smoother for customers, and that translates into additional millions of successful orders, we need to keep an eye on where exactly customers are finding issues in their whole journey, right?
Yeah.
To feed us with that information, saying, you know what, on Android devices, when someone is coming from an X flow and they are finding some hurdles while entering, let's say, address line 2, is important for us to know so that we can fix it in and so that people can go ahead and place their addresses, right? Similarly, avenues of which are the places where they may take more time to fill out the form. Roughly it might take, let's say, 2 minutes to fill out a form. Where exactly does it take more time, and how can we make it more simpler, right? That's where we try to figure out, use data to help us where exactly is a customer problem. So that's an aspect, like we need to have those dashboards, metrics, telemetry being built right grounds up to solve for this problem, this particular, to help us identify this nuance
Right, right.
of product so that it can help drive decisions further. Like in this example, it is about reducing friction or improving conversion.
Right, right.
So that's how the data will feed together to drive a better experience for customers. Same goes in output side as well, right? What are your output metrics and all? People would expect to have those, the KPIs being identified, your observability and your end dashboards being available so that people are able to see that what is the value which is being delivered from the product. So in short, I think data-driven decision making is kind of in the roots of anything and everything that is involved, associated with product management, right from customer empathy, requirement gathering to even execution and then measuring results. And it has evolved a lot. Like how can you get more real time? How can you get more granular information? How can you double click a bit more on it? And likewise.
Excellent, very well. In fact, when we say customer empathy, right, there is something which can be measured, from a data perspective. But then there is always this old saying, right? Unless you know the customer, unless, like you said, 10 years back, it was actually meeting them, right? You get to really understand where they, because there are certain things which are articulated and there are certain experiences which are not articulated.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm sure today with technology, with lot of things are being done in that front also. So how do you capture that? How do you capture that experience part, the touch part, making sure that he's had a good experience? How do you do that through the data-driven decisions?
No, fantastic question, right? It's something which is still evolving and we are not yet towards the ideal state of it, right? Like in my current experience, I'm providing developer productivity tools. I know my developers are using tools, but it's very hard to measure.
Right.
That how happy are developers with different tools. And same goes with the prior example. Like people like Amazon, customers would give a rating based on the product. Ideally, they would give a rating based on how they found the product or delivery experience, but not much on, let's say, the buying experience.
Correct.
How do we measure that the experience is great or not, right? Two specific threads on which we would like to measure or be more connected to the customers. One part is product teams need to be absolutely clear what are their success metrics. Right?
Got it. Yeah.
There's an emotional part, there's an empathy part which is there, but still it's important to know what are the top drivers for you. Like for example, in address space, it's fairly straightforward, right? How quickly are customers able to create an address?
Correct.
How many people are abandoning it? So basically the success part of it. How many quickly is one, how many people are abandoning it? And address is meant to deliver the product. So delivery success becomes the third part of it, right? So roughly, let's say these three are the primary KPIs or metrics that one would
Right.
want to measure to drive that customer experience. The more we see improvement on those at scale, the more
Correct.
better it would be. Now, the question that you asked is like, how are we still more customer obsessed? How are we still connected to the customers?
Right. Right.
It is very, very difficult. Like, think of Amazon scale, right? You have possibly billions of customers, and like millions of orders being placed on a daily basis.
Right.
How would you connect with like large majority of customers? Even we do sampling,
Right.
to connect with thousands of customers becomes materially difficult.
Right.
That's where some of the aspects of segmentation and understanding of the customer base helps.
Right.
Like I give an example. In Android, for someone for coming with a different flow in a given location for a given country, let's say these are the challenges which are being found.
Got
Helps
it,
you kind of
yeah.
segment your customer base, and then if you feel I'm still not clear, my data is not giving me the information, right? That's where we get into the more hands-on activity
Right.
of trying to figure out that customer cohort, try to prepare a workshop, whether it is through different research methods. We sent out surveys, but then typically with all industries, surveys have limited responses.
Correct.
We conduct focus group discussions and interviews with these participants. Observational study is one of the biggest thing, right? You would want to get in customers and ask them to follow a journey, and you observe. Just by observing without you saying or customer telling, aspects of product improvement are also identified, and you are able to put yourself in customer shoes to see how the decision making is happening. So I wouldn't say that by looking at data, we are decoupled from being more old school and being connected with customers. I
Got
think
it,
today
got
looking at metrics and data enables us to first channel which customer base we want to focus on, and then drive those customer interactions in a very focused and a pointed manner to reach a meaningful outcome.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Very well said. Very well said. Now, you know, like you said, a lot is happening on the tech side. So today AI is all over the place. So how do you see AI and automation really impacting, influencing the whole space of product management, and how do you see teams need to be way more prepared for that?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think AI, automation, all these latest technologies are the talking point across all different domains, right? And rightly so. They are reshaping the way everything is being done, because if you look at how Microsoft has evolved in the last 5 years, or even that's reflected in its stock performance as well. NVIDIA is a different story altogether. But
Yes.
I think the growth of Microsoft and its stock and value proposition is mainly fueled through Copilot and AI.
That's right.
And one of the primary reasons why it is so is it is an enabler, it is a catalyst, it's your best friend in any way you look at it across industries. And that's what investors are realizing, that's what customers are realizing, and that's how it is moving ahead, right? So there is a hype around AI, automation, data-driven technologies, lot of other stuff, big data, and a bunch of other stuff, and it is not wrongly placed. At least to my knowledge, it is not wrongly placed. It is going to reshape each and every role, job which is there, and product management is no exception to it. In fact, for us, AI and these latest technologies are reshaping things big time. Like I'll break down into it. Product management, if you look at it, like what does a product manager do, or how the role evolves, is involved in 3 phases. Like the first phase is where we understand customers, understand their journeys, identify some requirements, get those requirements in to say, okay, these are the 5 or 10 problems which customers are facing, we want to solve for it. The second phase is when the second phase starts, which is once we know the requirements, we'll have to go through the planning phase, talk with the engineering, identify the architecture, do the needful thing, schedule it in the planning, look at capacity, get the execution doing. And the final part is like once your features and the releases are out, we have to communicate to the customers that, okay, this thing is new, is coming in. So work on the go-to-market plan, documentation, training, whatever needful is required to communicate the value out, and then enable the needful teams, right? Whether it's a sales team, the partnership teams, any of the entire ecosystem along. With AI and other pieces coming in, it's reshaping the entire way all the three phases are being operated. Like for example, to connect with the customer itself and gathering the requirements, how would you segment different customers? You
Yeah.
can use the latest technologies to figure out like how those customers are present, right? In e-commerce sites, they use whether you use any of the let's say the Google Analytics related tools or any of the other fantastic user journey identification tools which are there, they will be able to help you identify and predict where your pain points are when a user journey is going out. So in fact, instead of you kind of diving deep and then wearing a lens of let me figure out where are the opportunities for improvement, these tools which are backed by AI will help you kind of go ahead and identify right away saying where the problems are. So as a PM, you are more focused on, okay, now I'm aided, I am empowered with this information. I'll validate for sure, but that head start is very important.
Very important.
It saves you
Yes.
time. It
Yes.
gets you
Yes.
to
Yes.
know customers better. Same goes at an execution, right? Program management in a way has undergone a change. There are a lot of tools which give you complete visibility top down into how the projects are working. Gone are the days when people are making PPTs about progress and things on those lines, right? You see information in any of those tools, whether it's a Jira or any of the other tools, to say, okay, this is the breakup, these are the tasks, and this is how the teams are progressing, exactly what is the progress going on. So execution is also streamlined, and it predicts you, are you on track, not track,
Not on track.
likewise,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Same goes in the communication as well. When we define our communication ahead, what are the different avenues or opportunities to target our customers?
Yeah.
So in short, when I say AI is coming in, it empowers product managers to be more effective by using whatever tools, right? Even in like demonstrating requirements, you use tools like Figma or Miro boards, which helps you very easily mimic the whole experience. Something which I used to do in Paint and would take me like couple of hours earlier, I can do it in some of these tools and then kind of get things done within a few minutes itself, right? So that's how these tools are very well thought through, powered with the latest technologies to be more effective. The subsequent additional question which comes in is like, if the tool is enabling you to do so much stuff, how as a PM are you contributing? I think the primary aspect where we help is, tool is just one part of it. It's like you think of it as an oven or a coffee maker. It's just gonna order or execute some steps. There has to be the brain and the thought process to drive those decisions, and that's where a PM is able to focus more energy and
Right.
provide more value to the organizations. So to summarize, all the nitty-gritty related minor tasks of doing the homework to drive decision making, AI is able to aid the product
Right.
management space, so that the
Right.
PMs can basically focus on the task on hand and get things ahead. And that's where I think efficiencies have improved big time. The roadmaps, people used to do it 6 months or 1 year. Now everyone is looking at quarter, like saying, okay, can we turn around things faster, right? So that's how the industry is also evolving, and quite a bit of success of it has to be attributed to all the latest technologies which are coming in place. So embrace it. I don't think it's something to be afraid about. One should embrace the technology in whichever field that you are in and see how it is enabling or aiding you.
Excellent, excellent. You know, I heard one of the leaders saying that AI has, what it has done is it's lowered the floor, raised the ceiling, right? Enabled more and more people to come
absolutely.
into the fray.
Absolutely.
But for existing people, seasoned folks, it has given you a lot more time to do more strategic work, right?
Absolutely.
More value-based work. Now, you know, extending to another dimension, Deep, we see, you know, services. All of us offer services. In our organization, we offer services. We offer training services, right? And I'm sure, even as you're building a product, there are service components to it, right? Which either you consume or you, you know, actually deliver to others. And India being a service economy with IT services traditionally being here, how do you see the opportunity of actually elevating from services, productize those services? You know, there is a saying, right? Project to actually a product.
Yeah.
right? So thoughts on that will be very
No,
appreciated.
no, absolutely, absolutely, and it's a right approach to also have. Like I've across the 5 major my experiences which are there, 2 of them have been with predominantly service oriented companies. So I can definitely relate to this particular point. Being in a services setup, which means like either a services company or your function which is doing a service, it may not be developing a product, doesn't mean that you cannot have a product mindset.
Right.
It is very important to have that product mindset which is there, and you can apply it even if you are in a services industry or your setup is like there are customer problems coming and you're solving it and then just moving ahead, right? What do I mean by product mindset? The product mindset would say, take a step back and ask the why questions, saying, yes, this is what customer is asking. Why is the problem? Like solving it on what is the need of what the customer is asking is definitely there, but can we take a step back and then figure out what is it that the customer is asking and why she or he is asking for it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we get that information, then we figure out, is it big enough, not big enough? Is it material to do something different upstream rather
Right.
than trying to solve it or carry things out downstream, right?
Right.
Are there some other avenues, other players? And is it something that, let's say, we are solving for one segment of customers? Is it something which can be offered to a wider variety of customers or
Right.
not?
Right.
And that's how things can help. I can give an example where, from my experience, where something like this was tried. I was working with a firm which recently got acquired, but it is into the HR tech space. So
Okay.
when I say HR tech, HR human resources technology, which means it offers software which is used for, let's say, employee records, attendance management,
Right.
payroll, performance management, likewise, right? The firm was actually the largest payroll services provider in the Asia Pacific region, which means they know their roots, what they are doing is fine, but everything was offered as a services to the larger organizations.
Okay.
Right, which means the customer will come, they'll say, okay, we have these all sources of systems, and then we'll do the integration, 3 months of lead time before everything goes out, right? So that was a services setup in which the I would say like HR tech services were being provided.
Got it.
The leadership at that point of time, when I joined the organization, then had also thought that it's not something different that we are doing from customer to customer perspective. Can we productize it? Can we think of targeting not just the larger companies but also smaller organizations with some core standard capabilities?
Right.
And that's where we bring a lens to say, what are those activities that we are doing? Let's say we are doing 5 integration. What are those 20 activities across 5 integrations being done? Is it required for all customers or not, right? And then having a framework or a landscape being made, saying, if I have a typical ideal customer, what does that customer would need in a services setup? So let's say if someone comes in, I have a template. Think of it as a template, like a out of the shelf menu. We go to restaurants and they say, okay, I have this thali which is available and it has this thing, right? You order the thali, you get the thali within 10 minutes because most of the things are already, not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It might be ready, they just serve it and give it out to you. So likewise, can we templatize it in a services setup?
Got it.
You start with that, and then over a period of time, you see customers like this template. A template is giving you a better lead time to
Yes.
serve your existing customers or new customers.
Right.
Then you start looking at putting a product boundary to it, carving out the product teams to more understand in a generic manner, and then shaping it into a product. So it starts step by step, like understanding what are those common themes, validating those ideas, and then kind of templatizing or productizing, whatever you want to call it out, right? The offering. That's how the services companies will be able to kind of go ahead and shift from offering just services to actually productizing. So that's where it helps you move from a one to many scenario. In our case as well, we were an HR tech company, we were offering this service, we were able to find out, okay, you know what, in payroll, if we keep only these 3 or 4 integrations, which let's say customers are able to easily provide, they themselves can go ahead and do the needful. So instead of
like
having
a self-service,
like a self-service. So instead of having a very high price and high time of onboarding and everything, we were able to kind of cater to the SMBs and middle tier segments as well and offer our products with the same agreement saying accuracy and reliability and everything which is involved to these set of customers by having that product mindset. So being in a services company or being part of a services setup doesn't mean you cannot apply product mindset to it. You apply a product mindset, you ask these questions why, one will be able to identify that yes, something can be productized for sure, and it reaps rewards. Another thing that I would like to bring out, right? I mean, I worked with Wipro as well as a product manager, and some of the large organizations as well. Every large organization has these innovation awards or some like year-end awards or different awards which are present.
Correct.
More often than not, if you take a step back, let's say if you ask yourself as well, half of these awards are given when someone has done exactly the same thing. When you are not solving the problem on hand, but taking a step back, asking why, and trying to solve the problem was bigger. We were just addressing the symptom, right? One taking a step back and identifying or solving a larger problem, those people are given awards because no one asked them to do it. They were able to kind of go ahead and dig deeper into what exactly is happening on the ground.
Yeah, understand what impact that has on an upstream,
Absolutely.
downstream, right?
Absolutely.
The holistic, the big picture. Also, Deep, we hear this as technology has rapidly changed. You look at even banks or probably some of the retail, industry also. They have acquired technology, right? This platform, that platform, then integrate. And it has all been here and now, some patchwork.
It's a
right?
nightmare, to be very honest. Yeah.
And now it is a mammoth, right? Nobody knows. And people who had, probably been involved earlier have left. There's no proper documentation. So it is a mess. It's a technology mess. Any thoughts on now, given that, that mindset, I'm sure, is so important going forward, what should be the best practices? Because I think that's a problem which is all pervasive.
Yeah. No, they're very well called out, right? I mean, mergers and acquisitions happen every time. Being in PayPal itself, like we have seen, like PayPal has acquired Brainmove, Entry, like a bunch of acquisitions over the last few years as well. And what it brings in is, definitely, it brings in fantastic talent, fantastic products, fantastic customer bases. But along with it, any merger or acquisition also brings in the challenge of saying, how do you integrate the things together to offer the bright offering for the customer?
For the customer, yeah.
The thing which possibly falls out the crack in majority of cases is leadership, or there is no typical like an integration leader, right? Or there is not a single mindset saying, okay, we have acquired some, let's say a bank acquires another bank, right? Both may have lending platforms which might be available. Now, how do we say, do we need two lending platforms? Possibly not. It's doing the same thing for the customers.
Yeah.
So which lending platform should we go at, right? That's where there has to be someone seasoned in that industry needs to take a step in, right? Someone who understands their domain knowledge, someone who understands their technology, someone who understands the customers, right? And someone who understands like what the capabilities are of both the systems, to be able to holistically figure out, saying, let's say firm A has this product, it has got these 5-10 different features or capabilities with these things, and then firm B has this. What are those commonalities? What A has which B doesn't have, or B has which A doesn't have? Can it be built one into another, or something? Like even before building, right? Figuring out what do we need for the customer. That lens has to be weighed and arrive at that. Like if you are doing A plus B, although the value might not be cumulatively together, but it has to be definitely more than what A is offering in isolation and B is offering in isolation. Correct. So that thing has to be brought out, and unfortunately, teams don't do justice to it. I've spoken with so many people in the industry. When a product is getting acquired, it becomes a nightmare for the downstream teams to kind of even think about and address it. Like for e-commerce, right? There's an authentication layer which is there. There are core data management layer which would be there. Security tool services as an API would be there, right? All the different systems have to be thought through to say what is that unified experience which you are offering to the customers.
Right.
So I'm adding to the problem statement that you said, but I do agree there is no common solution to it.
Right.
There has to be some person who dons these hat on the four aspects I said: domain, technical, product, customer side, and come up with what is the right end goal that we want to achieve
Correct.
through this migration,
Correct.
walk it through. That's where a product mindset and a PM lens definitely helps. Unfortunate part is everyone is filled with the backlog that they may have.
Correct.
So it has to be something which is driven top down, which kind of falls through the cracks when a merger kind of completes and everyone is like happy going back.
Yeah. And I think, also there are two types of organizations, right? Mature organizations who have following
Yeah.
the agile kind of practices, and there are other organizations, let's say some family owned, right? They also want to scale up today because everybody wants to acquire technology, or even a larger organization does not have that maturity, right?
Yeah.
So going back to say that I will follow a process, I'll follow an agile process,
tough
a
deal.
backlog,
Yeah.
put a release cycle, the discipline and the competency to do that, right?
In fact, it's a great point, right? And teams are solving it now. I think it was a challenge
was a
some time back. Now, it's not like, you know what, A has acquired B, and B is a smaller player and A is a larger player. So whatever A will say will be better. I don't
Yeah.
think that's something which is present nowadays, because what people look forward to is for any recommendation which is being made, they look forward to having the pros and cons and like a decision being fully thought through before
Right.
even it is being presented. I think this particular philosophy is very well ingrained in the Amazon way of working, right? Like Amazon has got its own style of any meeting starts with a pre-read. So there's a 10-minute pre-read document where they kind of go ahead and describe everything which is present.
Okay.
So which sets the facts and the aspects over there so that all the participants are aligned on where they stand. And then the discussion starts saying, well, these are the pros and these are the cons. So that homework takes the bias away
Okay.
from
Okay. Got it.
from
Yeah.
that decision making,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And teams are adopting that. Like it's not about creating the document, but doing that homework before to say, you know what, we have A and B. B's processes are better. They are able to give better results. They are able to demonstrate it. They are able to measure it. A would listen, right?
Yeah,
And they have to kind of go ahead and define a plan, saying not everything, but it's not zero as well. So how iteratively they are able to make better processes and better products over time happens.
Right. Excellent. Very well said. Now, coming to the skills part, all this has to be done by people, like you
Yes,
said, right?
yes.
AI is there, automation is there. So, even as a seasoned product manager, what do you see are some of the core skills which are very critical? Because I do understand it is a multidimensional skill, right? Yeah.
PMs tend to be considered like mini CEOs of the product.
Mini
and
CEOs.
those kind of a cliche
They are
lines
the only ones who have the holistic view, I guess.
Exactly. So, and it's like accountability without authority. So, you don't have the authority, you cannot govern or control different teams, but you got to make things happen.
Yeah.
Which effectively means, how do they make things happen? They need to have those specific set of skills which enable them to kind of go ahead and make things happen.
Right.
And it applies the whole product life cycle I just described. Like I talked about to simplify it, right? 3 phases. One part we can say, let's say requirement phase, where you're connecting with customers, identifying it, execution phase, and then release phase, where you do go to market and connecting with customers and things on those lines. When it comes down to the requirement phase, that customer empathy is kind of the most important skill for a product manager. You cannot be like, okay, someone has said this, so I'm going ahead and putting it in my requirement and solving it, right? One has to take a step back and talk about details of understanding the customer persona, defining their user journey, identifying their goals and pain points, right? And then figuring out what are the key things, apply prioritization lens, figure out what are those key things which a customer is asking for. Like if I combine all of these together, that having that customer empathy to surface the right problem statements is kind of the most important thing,
skill. Okay.
which anyone in the product management space needs to have. And it's not, there's no end state to it. It's not like mathematics where we are 100 out of 100 or like 95, I am 95 and then 5% is left. It's something which is continuously evolving, continuously being learned through, that PMs have to upskill and then go ahead. Like for example, even in user journeys, right? The user himself or herself is evolving. Like the way mobile is coming in, people use mobiles in completely different manner. There are different capabilities which are available, right?
Right.
Think of it, Alexa coming in enables people to use voice in carrying out tasks versus something which they were doing while typing or things on those lines. So the way users are also evolving is undergoing a change. Product managers need to be cognizant of that to understand that customer empathy piece.
Yeah.
So that's one of the very important one, and in my mind the most important skill. The more seasoned PM you are, you have customer obsession at a higher side, which means you understand customers and are able to identify the right requirement which you're bringing. Second phase, when it comes down to execution, that's where the challenge of a PM comes in terms of discussion, negotiation, prioritization, working with different the teams. You described earlier, right? The example when there are integrations between different banks happening, how do it? So one has to be able to take a step back and ask some questions where other people can come in and contribute, right? So during execution, it's all about ensuring it's not you who's driving it, it's your team which is going ahead and executing and developing the product to the next level.
Right.
So all the aspects of driving teams ahead to deliver your product becomes important, like stakeholder management, communication. Like communication is kind of a de facto. Stakeholder management, communication, documentation, self-prioritization. Time 9 a.m. you are there in the office and it's without you realizing it becomes like 6, 7. So like time management to time box your activities as you're going ahead and working throughout the day become absolutely important when it comes in that execution phase, that you have the right lens on making sure things are happening and you are unblocking other teams. Finally, in the third phase, which is the release phase, the aspects associated to the first part, you have tried to understand the customer, how the benefits that you are going to identify or provide in the product, the customer is going to realize. So what kind of collaterals you want to talk about?
Correct.
What are those key benefits that the customer has that you want to talk about, right? If it is a B2B setup, there is a sales team which goes in. So how do you enable those sales teams? Like people are not going to read your 6-page documents and say, okay, this is the value.
Does it have a story coming in?
Yeah, it has to have a story. It has to have 2-3 high-level bullet points, which sales guys are saying, this is fantastic. Like I can speak on this line, convince my customer about it. Right? So you have to enable those people as well to go ahead and drive product success. And having said that, with all of this, like having a business mindset, having a data-driven mindset, like say when I say business mindset, product is supposed to generate value for the company, and in most often cases value is by revenue and profit. So you need to have a mindset with that. Data-driven mindset, having focus on your metrics, your high-level points is definitely given, right? And then finally it comes down to saying, how are you growing your team together? The learning, development pieces of it, people part of it, the softer part of it is also very important, which comes in. So all of these skills aid together to be a better product manager. Customer obsession, during execution, all the stakeholder management and all those things, the marketing pieces of it, and you have those soft skills as well as your business skills which helps you drive the products ahead. All of these aspects are really important.
I guess very heterogeneous.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And like you said, if you are obsessed, I'm sure you'll not have a single dull moment because there is so much happening.
There is,
right?
I cannot tell you, like varieties of skills make up a successful PM. There's no end to it. One can always look up to learning.
Absolutely. So for those who are looking to, you're not a product manager, but you want to get into that space, what do you think that one should look at, in terms of both future, in terms of skills?
Fantastic point, right? And PMs come from diverse fields. It's a myth saying PMs need to have an MBA or some XYZ pedigree or some college name that they can be a PM. PMs come across the board. In my team as well, half of them have not done MBA, right? Now, how can people outside of PM career get into product management? The key aspect that you need to have is that customer empathy and the product mindset. Can you take a step back? Ask the whys in whatever activity that you are doing. Decouple the problem from the symptom which you are facing, right? That is something which is very important. Like for example, if you are an integration expert, and integration generally always fails, you go ahead and fix it, but you want to know why is it failing so often. You need to first go ahead and figure out, oh, you know what, this integration asks for XYZ frequency data to come in at a given frequency, and typically wherever we are doing, the frequencies are different. So now you are able to understand, oh, the problem is this one. It's not just about going ahead and solving or bandaging the right thing, right? So first and foremost is adopt a product mindset, ask the right why questions, be more obsessed with the customer, and then drive it ahead. That itself will foster that thinking in you to productize and build products ground up, whether you are in services industry, across domains. Like it need not be any IT industry itself, right? Whether you're in automobile, you're in any mechanical engineering domain related pieces, you can still apply the product mindset to move into a PM ladder. QA people move into PM, marketing people moving into PM, they become excellent product marketeers, right? Those aspects are valuable. So upskill yourself in thinking on those lines, be more customer obsessed, develop that business acumen that will drive people to get into product management.
And to kind of summarize, like you said, QA, marketing. So it is a holistic skill,
It's a holistic
right?
skill.
So it's not about, like you said, AI today in product management. It's not necessary that I need to have hands-on AI, but I need to
Absolutely.
understand technology. I need to understand
You need to understand the business problem that
Business
you're trying
problem,
to solve,
the
and what
domain,
customer problem
yeah.
is being faced, right? And PM role itself is growing more than 10% every year over year. Like in the US, it's growing about 12% year over year. So it's a domain which is growing, which means people from outside the industry are anyway coming in.
into it. Yeah.
It's all yours.
Yeah. So it's a T-shaped.
It's a, yes,
Any last
exactly.
thoughts for our audience on the
I
world
think
of product management?
like always be curious, always be hungry is the need of the hour in whatever domain that we have, and happy to guide in any other form as we can. But it's a very exciting domain. If you get a chance, please do come in.
Like you said, a mini CEO.
Yeah, mini CEO, absolutely, without authority.
Without authority, but then you if you give that kind of a value, there is that kind of a growth.
And
right?
PMs are the ones who very quickly move up the ladder and take up leadership roles as
Take
well.
up leadership roles. Absolutely. So it's a great career
Absolutely.
opportunity for those here. So I'm sure this was for all those who are watching. A lot of insights, a lot of knowledge. Thanks, Deep, for
Pleasure,
such a wonderful insight and your thoughts. It comes from such a rich experience. There's a lot of takeaway for all our viewers. So, folks, with that we come to end of this episode, but stay tuned for many more such enriching conversations, enriching episodes in the coming few weeks and few months. With that we come to an end, and thank you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you,
Deep.
Thank you so much.